Welcome home, Tomb Raiders and brave heroes alike. I'm Ash, this is AshQuest, and today we are looking at Dark Tomb, Crypts of Arelian, from Kozz Games, designed by Andy Bergman. Dark Tomb is a dungeon crawler in a pocket tin. It takes between 15 and 40 minutes for 1 to 5 players. We are not just looking at Crypts of Arelian though, we are also checking out Bloodthorn Island and the third and latest iteration of Dark Tomb, the Ice Chasers. This was the result of a successful Kickstarter, and of the time of this video's production, the Kickstarter for the Ice Chasers was the only way to get the first 2 games. In fact, if you go to the Dark Tomb website, which is linked in the description below, you should be able to purchase the Ice Chasers on its own, but the other 2 are implied to be out of stock. And I don't know if they will be restocked, remade. If anybody has a sighting for these games retail-wise, please let me know down in the comments below. And if anything, if you love the content of this video and you know that Dark Tomb is the game for you, you'll know to keep an eye on it and an eye out for future Kickstarters. I obtained these through the Ice Chasers Kickstarter, and this was at a pledge that cost $60 USD. So about $20 per tin game. We're going to look at Crypts of Arelian first, but you should know before I really dig in and get started that these 3 games are standalone. They're not really meant to be played as a campaign. In fact, Crypts of Arelian has 3 scenarios, Bloodthorn Island has 3 scenarios, and the Ice Chasers has 4 scenarios, but these are not meant to be played as part of a continuous campaign. You could, there's nothing stopping you from doing that, but each game has its own set of scenarios which can be played in any order. They have a bit of a suggested narrative, but you are actually able to play any scenario at any time, just fresh out of the box. And its own heroes, its own items. There's no character progression. You can't take items from one scenario that you've earned and not used yet into another scenario. Obviously, you can homebrew whatever you like at any point in time. You'll get a better idea of it once we untin Dark Tomb. So, first of all, the contents, very handsomely laid out. Not a lot of space wasted in here at all. Dumping it out is just the best way to get rid of it all. Really like the inlay for these. I can appreciate the very small size of tin helm and gates. But if they came in a slightly larger tin that had an inlay like this, that would be so cool. We have a bunch of cubes which are used as trackers. They will track your position as well as the position of enemies and items on the maps. And they are used as counters for the characters so that you know exactly how many hit points each character or monster has. Next, we have several cards. They're all color-coded, and there are very clean, easy-to-read symbols on each one that denote what type of card it is so that you can separate these out into decks. We have our manual, and believe me when I say the manuals for all 3 of these games are almost completely identical. Bloodthorn Island has additional mechanics for the boat, which is included, and the Ice Chasers has additional mechanics for sidekicks. But other than that, the rules take about 5 minutes to digest and another 10 to 15 to memorize for your second game. You'll refer to this book a few times. Your answers will always be very easy to find because there's not a lot of pages, and then you will know the game. We get a 20-sided die. Our first game has 4 different colored decks, and these aren't actually standalone decks. They are actually decks of subdecks, if you will. Each color pertains to a specific scenario. You can see that we have Roman numerals on the cards, and this indicates that this is Scenario 1's deck of things. We have Scenario 2, which is yellow, and Scenario 3, which is red, and the other games seem to follow this color convention pretty exacting each time, with the Ice Chasers giving you a 4th color because it has a 4th scenario. Then we have our gray deck, which is actually all of the cards that our heroes use. So in this game and in all of the other games, you have 4 heroes that you can choose from. And remember, this game is 1 to 5 players, so you can solitaire this, or you can have 2, 3, or 4 players all play heroes. A 5th player is able to be used for controlling the monsters if there are monsters on the board. I can't imagine that that's very fun. We have 2 cards that describe the stage turn and character turns, so I might as well just go over that now. We have seismic events that happen. Well, we'll start with character turn. You can perform a movement and then an action. You can't do an action and then move, but you can skip either one of these phases during your turn. So move up to your movement amount, or skip that, and then do an action, or skip that. But you'll never want to skip that. There are free actions in this game, including reveal tiles, get items, and pass items. And there are additional free actions that you might be able to do based on what items you have. It'll always say on the card for the item. Then it will be the stage turn. A seismic event will happen. You roll the D20, and if you get a 19 or a 20, all the characters take 1 damage. Not the monsters, just the characters. Then the monsters take their turns by moving and attacking. If they attack, they will roll, and if they get a 1 to 5 on their attack, they will flee 4 spaces instead of attacking. I've seen monster AI get so convoluted and overcomplicated, and this breaks down monster AI in the most simplest way possible. Each monster takes a turn in order from left to right, top to bottom. Monsters first move and then attack if able. Monsters do not reveal map tiles or get items. Monsters follow the same movement rules as characters. They move the least number of spaces needed to attack a character and will continue moving further if doing so enables them to attack multiple characters. That doesn't mean they'll move, attack, and then move more. It means if they have the chance to move and attack one character, or move and successfully try to attack 2 characters, they'll do that. Actually, that does read the other way. So the monster will move the least number of spaces needed to attack a character, and if they can move further, they'll continue moving further if they are able to attack multiple characters. If multiple characters are equidistant from a monster, distance ties are broken from left to right, top to bottom. Attack ties are broken in the same way. Left to right, top to bottom, so your positionals matter. Monsters do not move to anticipate what characters might do on subsequent turns. If an additional player is controlling the monsters, they can be moved in any way desired within the monster's allotted movement value. We get a lovely key to the terrain symbols, how to complete a stage, either successfully or failurely, and those are the character and stage turns. We just leave these close by for reference. Now we'll get a look at the 4 character classes that come with the first game. We don't get miniatures, we get colored cubes with symbols on 2 faces of each cube. This seemed like a really bizarre choice to me, and then I realized it's probably to save money because printing on each face probably costs an additional amount, so I kind of get it. It's kind of inconvenient when you have a bunch of these cubes and you have to flip them over to see which ones have the symbols. If you want to add more symbols to your cubes, you can just take like a little white paint marker and dot the sides, or you can try your hand at some artistry and draw the weapon symbols on each cube. Looking at the sword first, this is Aldrich. Now a note about the art, we have these squiggly lines on the art, and I want to believe that that's from the painting process. Like I want to believe that this is a painted picture, because we have another character here named Odin, who kind of has the same stuff going on, lines on the face. It's really, really bad with Draven. These could be seen as AI artifacts, but I'm not totally convinced that they are. I think that this could just be like oil on canvas, but I don't know. But the lines are consistent with every picture, so that would actually help that case rather than hurt it. Anyways, I think it was Yellow Sword I wanted to look at with Aldrich. He has an armor class of 13 or armor 13. This means that when a monster moves up to attack him, the monster will roll the 20-sided dice and then add the attack to the die, the attack value on the monster's card to the die, and if this number meets or exceeds the armor, then the monster will be able to inflict the damage noted on the monster card. I'll show you that here in just a minute. Aldrich can move 5 spaces and has 8 hit points, and it really doesn't get any more simple than that with the stats of the character. Every character has 4 different abilities that they can use. Every character has access to the dash ability, which allows them to move up to 3 additional spaces. This could be pretty useful if you are needing to move a long ways or trying to get away from a monster, put some distance between you and a boss, while you take the opportunity to explore more or grab an item or heal yourself with an ability. You can use an action to dash. Another action, which I will take advantage of to explain the combat mechanics here, or at least the symbology on the ability card, is Broadsword. This is the attack rating that's going to be added to the die roll. So if you roll a 9 using Broadsword, then your total number is going to be a 10. This will attack one target in a clear, straight line of sight that is 1 space away for 2 damage if it hits. Now if we bring up Odin's ability, Battle Axe, it's got the exact same move set. It's the melee attack, basically. This is going to add 1 to your die roll, and if that breaks through the target's armor, you will cause a damage. Naturally, the broadsword is better. The arrow means that you can hit 1 target with it, and the 1 means that they have to be 1 space away, in other words, adjacent to you. Let's contrast this with Draven's action, Gust of Fire. This will add 1 to your die roll. It'll hit up to 2 targets that are 3 to 4 spaces away, and if the attack successfully lands, it will damage each target for 2. Got all that? Finishing out the abilities for Aldrich, we have Strike Back. If you are hit, monster takes same amount of damage plus 1. And Dagger Sling. Add 4 to your roll. You'll hit 1 target for 1 damage if the target is between 3 to 5 spaces away, and this attack can round corners. You don't have to have the monster in your line of sight. You can actually throw this around corridors. Those arrows indicate attack types. We have a straight line of sight attack, one that turns corners, one that goes straight and is able to attack through walls, one that can hit multiple targets in your line of sight, and another that can hit multiple targets and attack through walls. In other words, it doesn't have to be in your line of sight. All right, next up we have Helios. That's our curved sword. She can move 6, has 14 armor, 7 hit points, has poison dart, dash, scimitar, skymater, and stealth attack. Stealth attack is unique in that it actually reduces from your roll, but if you land it, monsters do not target you on the next stage turn because you're stealthy. We have Draven with an armor of 12, a movement of 5, 8 hit points, very tanky guy. Dash, gust of fire, which can hit 2 targets 3 to 4 spaces away for 2 damage, very good. Attack, quarterstaff, you actually add 5 to your roll, so this is an almost guaranteed hit, or at least it's a higher chance of a hit. And shield and strike, plus 2 armor to you and any characters on adjacent spaces this round, if you manage to land it, because it's going to take 2 away from your roll. Plus it also does 1 damage to the enemy that you are attacking. And finally, we have Odin with an armor of 15, a move of 6, and 7 hit points. He has bolt strike, dash, battle axe, and heal. Roll between 11 and 20 to heal 1 hit point for self or character on adjacent space, 1 successful use per stage, and you will probably need it. I finished my first game of Dark Tomb, Crypts of Arelian, with Helios and Odin. If you're playing solo, you can definitely play with more than one character if you like. I can hear you now, Ash, why wouldn't you just spam the same attack over and over again? You can't do that in this game. We'll take our cubes and I'll show you why. You're going to have 3 cubes that are the same color. You'll take the one that's got the weapon symbol on it, and you'll place that on the actual cards that have the maps. And then you'll take your other 2 colored cubes, place one on your hit points, and the other one on the last action that you used. For your very first turn, don't put it anywhere specific. But after you use your action, place the cube on that action. You can't use that same action next turn. You have to mix it up. This is why all of your characters have a dash, a melee attack, a ranged attack, and then a special thing that they can do. We'll take our unused cards and we'll put them away. And we're ready to dig into the first deck, our blue deck. The card that has the picture of the scroll on the front is the intro text. Stage 1. You descend into a cold, dark chamber divided by enormous stone walls. A rancid door of ancient decay hangs in the air. You advance cautiously, and a sudden movement in the shadows catches your eye. It isn't just the intro text, though. We are also looking at how your map is going to be set up, because we have 5 cards coming up next that will represent the map for this scenario. Now you'll notice that one of these map spaces illustrated here has a black dot, and that is because out of all of our map cards, we have one that has the black dot in the center. This is the origin. This is the card that you'll flip over that will be the beginning of the stage. So you're going to play a bit like this in setting up your stage. And yes, you can take these cards and shuffle them beforehand, and it doesn't matter if you turn them. In fact, you are very much encouraged to turn the cards around because they will work no matter what orientation they're in. And this is kind of how you get your replay value. So this is going to be your entire play area right here. We have more cards that represent items, which we will be able to pick up, and there are exactly 4 because you will be able to pick up exactly 4 items should you so choose. And then we have 2 cards for enemies because there are 2 enemies in this scenario. And then we have the trophy card, which is the end of quest text that you'll read if you successfully complete this mission. Finally, we have a few more cubes to go over. The item cubes, which have these nice little item bags on them. Again, just on like 2 sides. Out of the 6 faces of the cube. It doesn't matter though. And then we have these monster cubes. They're black, that means monster in this game, but each one has a specific symbol, and that's to help you track which monster they represent once you have revealed the monster by flipping over the monster card when you explore new territory that has a monster in it. The other black cubes are just to place down on the hit points tracker of those cards. And that's it, we're done, we're ready to play. So we'll put a green sword there, we'll put a blue axe here, and now it's my turn. And I'm going to go ahead and move my blue axe person 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to use my free action to flip this card over. And try to flip it over just fairly. I'm not going to turn it now that I flipped it over. There is going to be a monster here, so let's draw the monster card, and it's going to be a henchman. These are the monster cards, by the way. They're very similar to the character cards, except we have a lot more hit points here, and that's because you'll notice the white dots on the hit points. These represent the hit points that the monster will start with depending on the number of players or number of characters you're bringing into the scenario. In this case, I brought 2 characters, so this monster, this henchman, is going to have 7 hit points. So we'll put him here to track that. Oh, and you should also note the symbol that is being used here. This is the circle with the line through it. The symbol doesn't mean anything. It doesn't do anything. It is just a way to track which monster is where on the board. We have a corresponding cube, circle, with a line through it. We'll place that right on that little bird foot. We also have an item, and we haven't grabbed the item, so we won't be turning over the card for that. It stays here. It doesn't move around the dungeon. Now, I've only moved 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces so far. I still have 2 more spaces that I can move, but Odin has Bolt Strike, which can definitely hit a monster in his line of sight 3 to 5 spaces away. And I would 1, 2, 3, 4 count this as in my line of sight. But even if I didn't, I could just move 1 more space up, and now it's going to be there. I'm going to call my movement phase done. I'm going to place my blue cube on Bolt Strike, and I'm going to roll. And I'm going to hope that I roll high enough to clear the monster's armor rating. Well, Bolt Strike doesn't add anything to my attack, and I only rolled a 9. The monster has a 15 armor, and it does nothing to him. So this is my first character's turn. Done. It's Helios's turn now. She has a movement of 6. You don't move diagonal in this game, only orthogonal. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 monsters in my line of sight. I could actually use Poison Dart if I wanted to. This will add 3 to a roll, so I'm going to do that. This will work on any monster 3 to 4 spaces away, and that monster is exactly 4 spaces away. So we roll, and I rolled a 4. My rolls have sucked so far. We'll put our green cube on Poison Dart, so we can't use that next turn. And now it's the stage turn. So we roll for the seismic event. If we roll a 19 or 20, the heroes are going to lose a hit point apiece, which doesn't seem fair, but it keeps things going. It keeps you moving. When there are no monsters on the board, you are just trying to clear as many cards as possible. And that's the goal here. You want to explore all of the cards, make sure that all of the monsters on the cards that you have turned over, the exploration cards, the map cards, the dungeon, are dead, and then you will win. That's all there really is to it, but your intro text may specify additional win conditions. So if it doesn't, then you need to turn over all the cards. You need to kill all the monsters. We rolled a 15. There's no seismic event. It's the monster's turn. And I know the monster will move to the closest hero using the fewest spaces that they have to move. This monster, the henchman, he's got the ability to attack 2 heroes 2 to 4 spaces away. So he's going to move 1 space, and now he will be able to attack Odin, and he'll do that. Whoops, rolling. We have a 12. His attack is +4 to this 12, so that's 16. Odin's armor is 15, so he does successfully hit Odin for 2 hit points. And on these stages, there's usually at least 1 monster out of the monster deck that's going to be kind of brutal. The rulebook says we'll continue moving if doing so enables them to attack additional targets, and he could definitely move more. He's got a movement of 3. He only moved 1, but he doesn't have to move to attack the other character, Helios. So we're going to roll again. That's a 6. 6 plus 4 is 10. Helios's armor is 14, so that attack fails. And now it is my turn again. This time, Odin is going to move in 1 space and attack with the battle axe. That's just a +1. Whoops, I got to be careful about that. 9, high armor class, it did nothing. Helios is going to move in now with Scimitar, and it's a 7. Once again, my roll has absolutely sucked. But let's go ahead and pretend that I destroyed this monster in 1 hit, which isn't going to happen because the most damage you're going to take from a monster using a regular character attack is going to be between 1 and 3. I should note at this point that if you roll a 20 while you are attacking, you will inflict an additional point of damage to the monster. Unfortunately, if you roll a 1 naturally, you instead will take 1 damage. I guess that's a really bad fumble of an attack. If we destroyed the monster and we survive seismic events enough to make it over to this bag, then all we have to do to collect the item is move on top of the space or have enough movement to do so. And if we want to continue our movement, we can do that as well. We'll turn over an item card, and in this case, it's Fire. Fire has a range of 1 to 4 spaces, clear line of sight. If you use this alone, it will inflict 1 damage automatically. It has an automatic hit. If you use this with the spear, then you will incur 3 damage. You discard this after the use though. So you'll find that there are a few items in each stage that are kind of like this that can be combined with other things. at least in a lot of the stages across the 3 games, you'll want to hang on to these because they're usually designed to be used in conjunction to help your odds against the monsters. We actually have a combination of 3 items that you can use all together for 5 damage in the 3rd scenario of Tombs of Arelian. And you need to because that monster is tough. So we go on this way, flipping over cards, revealing monsters. This is the last monster for this stage. It's the Rat Swarm with a slightly lower armor rating of 12. They can only attack 1 character for 1 damage, and they have a few less hit points at 4 for my 2 characters. But they can move 7. If we manage to take them out, I'll know that there are no more monsters because there were only 2 cards in the deck, and it's not like we shuffle them and reuse them. There's just 2 monsters only in this scenario. So we can go on unveiling the rest of the map. It's not an auto win just because you kill the monsters. You still have to flip over the remaining map tiles. And you don't have to collect all the remaining items because there would be no point in doing that. The items are just there for you to combat the monsters. In the current stage, there's no carryover, so if you happen to finish this level and you still have the fire, well, you got to give the fire up. Again, if you want to homebrew a sort of character progression system for this, then you can absolutely take those items with you into the next level. But if we have defeated all the monsters and we've explored the rest of the tiles, we flip over the trophy card and read Distant Light. After a brief moment's rest, you notice a small glimpse of light emanating from a crack in the far wall, which leads to a narrow stone tunnel. You slowly make your way through on hands and knees, taking in a deep breath before entering the catacombs. And now we are able to take on the catacombs. And that is scenario 2. So just like with the first scenario, we will read the intro card. We will also keep it aside to help us reference how this level is going to be set up. And it looks like it's going to be set up just like this. We have just enough map cards to do that. I suppose if you really wanted to expand the way that you play this game, you could take these levels and you could build them with each other and just have your characters move from one to the other once you've completed all of the requirements for one level. That's not how you play it, but that's one way that you could homebrew it. And your introduction card is going to have your hero starting spaces. Then we'll flip these over, flip. Let's just keep this in a handy spot like right there, and then we'll have our items in a handy spot. Here, there's a lot of items for this scenario. There's 3 monsters, and then there's the win condition. And there you go. This is my entire play area. One of the reasons I love tin games is because of this small footprint. Now you'll notice there's a couple of symbols on here that I haven't explained yet. We've got dungeon dressing such as barrels here. These block movement, but not line of sight for ranged attacks. And then in this dungeon, we actually have locked doors. Well, I bet you'll never guess how we open those. So if you explore the dungeon here, which I've flipped over all the cards prematurely, you're not supposed to do that because you're supposed to put the contents down as soon as the card is flipped and only then. But if you explore this dungeon, you'll see that there are many item cubes, and hilariously, the first time I played this, I didn't get any keys. 3 of the items are behind locked doors, and all of the items that were behind the locked doors were keys. Hilarious, guys. 3 of the items, though, are keys, which allow you to open a single lock. And the gate remains opened, of course, once it's unlocked. You use it as a free action, discard after use. The other 3 items are Trident, Hammer, and Crossbow. Trident has a range of 3 and can attack through walls. It's an automatic hit for 2 damage. A hammer will destroy 1 space of wall, allowing characters, monsters, and attacks to pass through. I bet that was an afterthought after they were like, oh, it's possible to lock all of the keys behind doors if the player is very unlucky. Then the Crossbow, which has a range of 7 and can for some reason go around passages. It's an automatic hit for 3. Your monsters in this level include the Mummy, Sargon, and the Arachnids. Now, a level will never have more than 3 monsters because you've only got 3 of these symbol cubes to use for this game. But I find this pretty entertaining. You can come up with some fun scenarios here. Like, I lacked the keys to complete this level by unlocking the doors, but I was able to get the crossbow by virtue of all the keys being locked behind doors and the crossbow not being locked behind a door. Crossbow, I mean the trident. And then the last monster, which you have to kill to be able to clear the level, is stuck in this room behind a locked door, and I can't get to it because I have no keys. Well, I did have the trident and I did have the hammer, so I was able to use the trident to attack the monster through the wall, and this particular monster could not attack back, so I was pretty safe from it, but then I had no way to actually attack it because I had to use an item to do that, which was the trident, and my characters can't attack through walls, with their abilities anyway. So I had to use the hammer to break through a section of wall, and then my characters came in and were able to destroy the monster. thus clearing the level. Putting all this stuff back the way that I found it is pretty easy. I'm definitely pedantic about that sort of thing. I have to have everything right back where it was, so it's easy for the future me to unbox. Oram's Tomb is the final scenario in Dark Tomb Crypts of Arelian. There are a lot of items, there are 3 very strong enemies, and here's the winning card. And this has got a fun mechanic in it. One of the items is Shift, a map tile shift carrying all items, monsters, and characters with it. If not yet revealed, the tile remains face down. So, if you draw this card as the first item, for example, then this, according to the picture, is going to move here. So now your dynamic has changed a little bit. This is the only time in this first game that this happens, so it's pretty interesting to see. We have water in this level, which your heroes cannot go through without some kind of aid, and you'll also get that aid in this level in the form of boards. Boards provide enabling passage across water. While in possession, movement on all terrain is reduced by 1 space per turn. And here's the handle, chain, and iron ball combo I was talking about. You'll need them because the monsters in this one are Ardran, which has a pretty low armor class, so maybe don't waste it against Ardran. The Dragon, which again, kind of a low armor class, only attacks for 1. Maybe just try to tank it out with the Dragon. And Oram, who is kind of like the Witch Lord of this whole thing. You need to take him down as quickly as possible because he has attacks that will stun you for 3. He's not fun. Basically, kite the enemies if you have to. They don't really move that far, and the AI will always have them chasing you or moving the least amount of spaces to get to you. Kite them, move around things, get to all of the items, and then use the items against the enemies. That's pretty much your formula for winning. And that's all of the contents of the Dark Tomb. Take all of our gray cards, place them in the top, and then the manual, and then this game is nice and neat and packed away. If we progress to Bloodthorn Island, then everything is about identical to the first game in every way. There's just one difference here, and that is we get an additional miniature, which is the boat. The boat has 4 spots for adventurers to sit in, up to 4 players, and it is used directly in one of the scenarios, actually directly in 2 of the scenarios. It's just set dressing for the 3rd. But I actually want to set up these 3 scenarios to show you the boat, because I think that it's kind of interesting to see how this is put into play. We have 4 new heroes for this one. We have Von Clay, who has a much more modern looking appearance than the people we've seen so far. So I've come to realize maybe this game is set in a bit more of a contemporary period of time than I thought. Von Clay has Poison Glare, Raven Sweep, which allows you to get an item from up to 4 spaces away from item spot or another character, Raven Attack, which is pretty good, and Dash. We have Linara with armor class 13, 5 move, 8 hit points. She has double slash, separate attacks or both on one monster. Dive and slice, move 1 or 2 additional spaces before attack. Spike, sling, and dash. We have Zan, and don't mess with her. She has an armor class of 15, 6 hit points, 6 move, arrow jab, heal, guided arrow, and dash. Guided arrow is pretty tough. Finally, we have a character named Forge. 14 armor class, 4 movement, 7 hit points. Mace Blow, Frantic Charge, reduce your armor by 2 on the next stage turn though. Stone Heave, and Dash, which allows you to move up to 4 additional spaces for this guy. The first scenario is called South Docks, and if we lay out the entire map, it might look something like this. Sort of a strange way to build the docks, but it's important to note that we have an outline here, and this is where our boat will go. And this is where the creators of the game really decided to get creative, because we have 3 monsters and 5 items for this level. 3, I mean 2 monsters. The Driesel and the Wharfman. That 3rd card was the end of the scenario. And the 5 items are the hook, the rope, the pulley, the plank, and hypnotic. With hypnotic, you can hypnotize a monster and move it up to 4 spaces at your command. This is a free action, discarded after use, yada yada yada. The plank has multiple use and can be utilized by a character that possesses it, but it allows passage over any 1 space of water to reach another dock. It's not the same as the floaty boards in the last scenario, the last game. If you have the rope, which you will keep until the end of the stage, you can use it with the pulley to dock the ship. And if you have the pulley, you can use it with the rope to dock the ship. You must be on a space next to the dock cleat, which is right here, and you use this in place of an action and discard it after use. Our stage card says, you must find and dock a ship in addition to defeating all monsters and revealing all tiles. If you do have the hook, this has to be used with the rope. You use it in place of an action, automatic hit to 1 monster. So really interesting setup there, but no way to soft lock it. Seems a little funky, but there's no way to soft lock unless your hero gets onto the boat, which is a one-time use. And then you've kind of trapped your fellow heroes on the docks. they've got to fight and kill all the monsters and reveal all the tiles, or they die while you're safe on the boat. Of course, if they don't kill the monsters, then you lose too, so there's that. I do want to show you the second scenario, and it goes something like this. This time, we have these white pips on our cards, and the stage card for Shadow River tells us that we need to make sure these are oriented upwards like this. Same with this, actually. This one needs to be oriented upward before we turn it, so your card's always going to look like this when you start. And now all of your heroes are going to be on this little boat, and the boat has its own rules. So if any part of the ship passes the end of the river, it will plummet down Rigora Falls and the stage is lost. You can't let that happen. When your boat hits rapids, it's going to move. It's going to move until it is no longer on the rapids. And if it passes over a space that's got a monster, then the monsters will swim to the back of the boat. So you have to be very mindful to manage the position of the ship. We're going to reveal these in advance just to kind of show you the flow of this level. You have plenty of spaces where there are not rapids. On each character turn, you can move the ship, up to 3 spaces in any direction, but not diagonal, and you can't turn the ship. So your guys are on here paddling like crazy to try to get this to clear, go back, not be on rapids, which is kind of impossible because it's just going to move forward again. The ship advances 2 spaces downstream, then if it's on a rapids, it continues to moving downstream until it is no longer on a rapid. So you could, with your character's turn, go 1, 2, 3, and now it goes forward 2 spaces, and now it moves just enough to be off of the rapid, and now it's the next character's turn. It kind of sucks that you still roll for seismic events here. I mean, we're on a ship. What kind of seismic event is going to affect the ship? There are actually 4 items: the net, the oar, which allows you to move the ship an additional 4 spaces at the end of your movement on any turn. It splinters apart, discard after use. The mine, and time stop. Cast spell to completely skip the next stage turn. Your 3 monsters are the Strave, the Rock Gill, and the Trap Ray. Yes, that means for the very last level, you'll be kind of moving the ship 1, 2, 3, and then it'll move 2, and then your next character will 1, 2, 3, and it'll move 2, and you're trying to just manage keeping it away from the edge of the falls until you get all the monsters dead. It's gonna be a weird balance, but it's doable while playing. I really had the strong impression that the game was play-tested nuts and bolts. Play-tested nuts and bolts. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Bloodthorn Island is the last level of Bloodthorn Island, and you've got to destroy the evil land serpent Lorgon, which, to be perfectly clear, could appear in any one of these 3 monster spaces. You could face off against the deadly Bloodthorn, the Kraken, or Lorgon itself. And you could get the Stalk, which is, hey, a gun. The Spring, which you can use with the Stalk and Harpoon, and the Harpoon. Passage, which is a spell that connects the 2 barrels on the island, so you can now move freely between these 2 barrels. And it only counts as 1 space of movement. And Herbicide, automatic hit to the Bloodthorn. Oh, and a lockpick. We've only got 1 lock here, so this is your key to get through it. And we'll just dock our little ship there and have our adventurers start on their starting spaces, and that's Bloodthorn Island. If you lose any of the scenarios, you simply get to try it again, since they're all one-shots that can be played in any order you so choose. Like I said, there is a stage 1, 2, 3 sort of narrative about all of this, but the rules are pretty clear in that if you just get a wild hair one day and you decide you really want to play Quest 2 of Ice Chasers, you can do that. It's standalone, there's no carryover, just create your hero and go. So I do kind of appreciate that, although I do massively prefer the idea of character progression over one-shot accessibility. Dark Tomb, the Ice Chasers, comes with everything that we have seen so far, yet again, but this time we have a lovely ice cube sort of die, and regrettably my least favorite theme, which is the ice level. That ends up being stage 4, and I won't spoil that for you. Stage 3 though is pretty cool. It's just Cordon's Pass. You're only going to have 1 of 2 ways that this one ever comes out, because the 2 cards explicitly say you have to orient this card this way, and then the other card is either going to be like this or it's going to be like this, which means it's going to show up like this or like this. There's no 2 ways about it. The sole item in this is Avalanche. Provoke an avalanche from a range of up to 6 spaces from a monster. The monster is immobilized and does not move or attack on the next stage turn. Use as a free action at any time. Then Elgaron, which has an armor of 15 and up to 12 hit points, depending on how many players you're playing with. It does a lot of damage per turn. This would be a fun, really short scenario to play, just solo, just to try out the characters. Speaking of characters, let's look at those guys. We have Osh with Flint Cubes, Dash, Pickaxe, and Revive Airmine. By the way, Ermine is Osh's sidekick, and this game comes with the sidekick mechanic. Osh takes turn after Osh's Ermine takes his turn after Osh's full turn. One hit defeats Ermine, can reveal tiles, cannot retrieve items. So this poor zombie ferret is just continuously getting revived over and over. But if you roll a 1 or 2, Ermine revives as monster, returns to a space adjacent to Osh. And now it's going to be a monster with these same stats. But you could hit it with 1 hit and it'll die, and then you can revive it again. That's a crazy mechanic, but I actually really like it. We have Anjo, who has Winter Sword, Control Monster, very interesting, Ice, Dust, and Dash. We have Shern. Everybody's dressed for the cold. Who wants to be in the cold all the time like this? Open Skies, Air Crush, Heal, and Dash. And finally we have Dahlia, who has Sickle Throw, Sickle Slice, Dash, and Leap and Swipe. Pretty similar ability sets across all of the characters, I gotta say. Oddly enough, the Ice Chasers is the only game where my cards seem like they were, I don't know, they have this odd sort of curvature to them during their manufacturing process, I guess. This is the first and only game that has the 4th scenario, but instead of assigning the new color to the new scenario, we kind of push all of the scenario colors to one side, and this becomes the new first scenario color. It's green. Doesn't matter, it's just an observation. This is Azure Tavern. It's even called Azure Tavern, and they're using a green. And so it might be set up something like this. We have this lovely little tavern background. Our monsters include the Assassin, and the Grulch. I was so mesmerized by the Grulch I couldn't speak for a moment. And our items include the elixir, the table leg, and the skillet, which I love. We have hero starting spaces to account for the zombie ferret now. These were the tiles most shown with this game. These were the kind of the tiles that sold me on the, hey, I want to know more about this, I want to click this. The monsters in stage 2 here include the Dendrak, the Crawler, and the Zorn. And then we have the Spikes, the Ice Axe, the Antler, and the Crystal as far as our items go. But that, Brave Heroes and Tomb Chasers alike, Ice Raiders, Bloodthorn, Arelianers, Crypt Islanders, whatever you decide to be today, is the Dark Tomb Trilogy. Again, I don't have a lot of accessibility on this because I only found out about it through Kickstarter. Seems like it's your cup of tea, then I have no doubt you'll be able to get this secondhand, or the company should be able to produce more. I earnestly hope, because it's a really cool idea. It has a lot of really neat things with it. I do think that travel size games are awesome if they're done right. I will say that I spent an afternoon completing the scenarios in Crypts of Arelian, mastered the gameplay flow, the loop, took my turns, was very comfortable with the way that the game played out, started in on the second set of scenarios, and kind of got bored very quickly. I think I just tried to do too much at once. But I do wish that there was more variation between the kinds of hero abilities across the 3 games. Kind of something that didn't make it seem like they were all just clones of each other. I want it to matter if I homebrew taking one of the heroes from the Ice Chasers and bringing them back to Crypts of Arelian or Bloodthorn Island. But like I said, there's a lot of different ways you could homebrew stuff if you have more than one copy of whichever of the games, because you can take your map tiles and completely mix them up. You can take all of your yellow decks, your level 1 stuff, and mix all of those up and make a giant level 1. And honestly, that might be why the tavern came in a different color, because it's the only one that has a sort of indoor theme to it. So thematically, it's just going to make more sense to do it that way. Actually, I have a pretty strong suspicion that I'm right about that. I'm actually absolutely wrong about that, because the same deck color on this side, once we flip them over for Ice Chasers, it's a completely different style, and I should have remembered that when I was going through all of the cards just seconds ago. Well, there's nothing stopping you from saying, hey, you flipped over this card and the biome changed. It's now an icy chill in the air. There's also nothing stopping you from using 8 heroes now that you have all 8 cubes and placing them in their hero slots, or I guess 9 because we have the zombie ferret as well. You could mix and match these pretty easily. You're not going to be able to lose the ability to sort them back into their respective boxes despite having the same card back, because the fronts are so drastically different. But that's really all I wanted to show you today, so I hope that this gives you some ideas about some stuff. What would you like to see changed about this? Was this kind of a sell for you immediately, or was this something you're kind of hesitant? Would you like to see more of specifically this? Maybe not on the channel, but like from the developer. Do you think that there are things that they could do to improve their chances of selling this to you? You'll have to let me know down in the comments below. There's always a chance that somebody important could see this stuff, and it might influence the way that they make their next game. But that's Dark Tomb. I've been Ash, and I will see you in the next exciting adventure. Until then, brave heroes, bye for now.